The Colorado Eagles get the split they were looking for with a 5-3 win out in Abbotsford. Best of 5 AHL Pacific Division final is tied at 1 win apiece. We're breaking down game number 2. This is Rink Wide. And we welcome you inside the Rink Wide Studios in downtown Vancouver. All the action, of course, out in the Fraser Valley, where the Abbotsford Canucks fall 5-3 to the Colorado Eagles. The Eagles have evened this best-of-5 series at 1 win apiece as they both pack their bags and head for Loveland, Colorado. That's where the duration of this series will be played. We know it's going to go 4 games. Will it go the distance? Well, that'll be determined south of the line. Jeff Patterson with you here in studio. Dave Hall from Canucks Army is going to join me as he does after almost all of these Abbotsford Canuck playoff games. And look, not every game is going to be a masterpiece. Not every game is going to be a shutout victory. It just kind of felt that way after back-to-back goose eggs for Artur Silovs and the Abbotsford Canucks. But the Colorado Eagles won the division in the regular season. This is a really good hockey club, the highest scoring team in the American Hockey League. You knew they were going to respond. They were going to bounce back. They were going to show what they were made of, and they did that. They got the start they were looking for, scored 1 minute and 57 seconds into the hockey game, and were able to build a second period lead and then put it away in the third. Now, credit to Abbotsford, didn't go quietly, pushed to the final buzzer, got Artur Silovs out, hoping to get within 1 and then have a bit of a hope and a prayer at the tail end of the hockey game. Didn't happen that way. They did score a late goal on a power play to make it a 5-3 final, but it is in the books. Colorado wins this one, and so now it's back to Abbotsford in terms of the team that has to make some adjustments. Going to watch some video. They've got a few extra days here. The series doesn't resume now until Wednesday. Wednesday and Friday are the games that we know will take place if necessary. A game 5 would be played on Memorial Day, Monday afternoon. More on that. But that's the schedule, Wednesday, Friday, and then Monday for the games down in Colorado. Jake Wise, yes, we'll hear more about him a little bit later on in this game, but he was the guy that opened the scoring, a deflection of a point shot just under 2 minutes into this hockey game. That's the start that Colorado was looking for. Look, they got shut out the other night. First time all season, regular season or playoffs, that Colorado had failed to score a goal. Again, I repeat, they're the highest scoring team in the AHL, so they didn't take that lightly. They wanted to get to Silovs, prove that they could beat him, don't let him get in their heads, and get off to a much better start than they did the other night. Well, that was accomplished. Now, Abbotsford tied it up. Jonathan Lekkerimäki, we've spent a lot of time here on these Rink-Wide playoff editions talking about Lekkerimäki. It's been a bit of a slow roll for him. Finally gets his first of the postseason, and the kind of goal that you're looking for. Jumps his man off the face-off, picks up a loose puck, and is able to snap it home past Trent Miner. And so a bit of a goal scorer's goal there for Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Hopefully, the dam bursts now, and we start to see more offense out of the youngster. They need him. I think it's great for his confidence, obviously, that he finds the back of the net, tied the game at 1, and that's the way things stood after 20 minutes of play. Colorado scored the only 2 goals of the second period. Wyatt Amat, 13:30, bad goal. Look, Artur Silovs has been terrific in these playoffs. But this was a bad goal. Banked it basically in from the corner, a sharp, sharp angle. And they just need more. They need a save in that moment in a 1-1 tie. Those are the saves that Artur Silovs has been giving them, but it didn't happen there. And a sharp angle shot that deflects in off Silovs. So it's 2-1 at that point, and a handful of minutes later, Chris Wagner, veteran that's played in the National Hockey League, was given a little too much room in front of the net, left alone, and able to redirect a centering pass. And that made it 3-1 for Colorado. And so the Eagles take a 2-goal lead to the third period. And, look, Abbotsford has shown an ability to generate and to score goals. I don't think they were out of it at 3-1, but Ivan, yes, one of the great names in sports. It's one name, twice. Ivan, he scores on a wrist shot out of the left circle, beats Silovs. That made it 4-1. And at that point, you kind of got the feeling that this one was over and done with as far as Abbotsford is concerned. Now, again, they didn't go quietly. Chase Waters scored. Linus Karlsson on a power play. Karlsson up to 4 postseason goals now. But that was it. Former Canuck Jason Magnus sealed the deal into an empty net, made it 5-2. And then it was essentially garbage time from there on out. Abbotsford outshoots Colorado 30-21. We talked about the fact that Artur Silovs wasn't as sharp as he has been in many other games here in the playoffs. Trent Miner, the former Vancouver Giant, picks up the victory in goal for Colorado. The Canucks go 1 for 3 on the power play. The penalty kill remains a real bright spot for this Abbotsford Hockey Club. Has yet to give up a power play goal in the playoffs and killed off all 3 of the penalties they took, most of them Sammy Blais. A strange night. Blais has been terrific for Abbotsford here in the playoffs. He plays on the edge. Tonight he crossed the line way too many times and ends up taking 28 minutes. Yeah, 28 minutes in penalties, a misconduct and a game misconduct. That certainly is going to boost the totals. But not the kind of night that we've seen from Sammy Blais. Again, he tries to be physical. He tries to be a presence, but there was a little too much of the extracurriculars, and he picks up an assist, so he boosts his team-leading point total, but not what he or the Canucks were looking for in this one. Again, full credit to Colorado. Hey, nobody thought this was going to be easy. Colorado and Abbotsford, the top 2 teams in the Pacific Division. At the outset, you kind of thought it had the makings to go the distance, and look, 2 games in, I'm not sure that anything really has changed there. This is Rink Wide. We do it after every one of the Abbotsford Canuck playoff games, so we'll do it after the games that emanate from Colorado midweek next week. And we tell you all the time, we appreciate your participation, your contributions, your thoughts, your comments, your feedback. Whatever the case, hit us up in the live chat or on any of our socials and bring it. If you have a comment, a question, a thought, a suggestion that you want read here on the program, then make it a super chat. And, it requires a little contribution, but it all goes to a great cause. Our super chat charity partner this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Rink Wide brought to you in part by Bet365. If you want to get in on the action for the Stanley Cup playoffs, at Bet365, they've got you from game props to player props, totals, and money lines. You can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Must be 19 or older. Well, this was Manny Malholtra's 45th birthday. I'm sure he was hoping for a better gift from his players. He wanted to win, not just because of his birthday. That would have been the topper. But yes, Manny turning 45 today, and his team's in a dogfight against the only team that finished ahead of the Abbotsford Canucks in the regular season in the Pacific Division. All right, let's bring Dave Hall from Canucks Army into the mix. A regular here with us throughout these AHL playoffs, and we'd love to get Dave's contributions and his thoughts. Hi, Dave. How are you?
Oh, just great. How you doing tonight, Jeff?
Look, I know Abbotsford didn't win, but they gave us lots to talk about. You probably heard me talking, though. Colorado's a really good hockey club. The fact that they responded shouldn't surprise anybody. And the fact that they came out and tried to prove their point early, that was exactly the start that they were looking for.
Absolutely. We can't give the Canucks their flowers every single game. And as you already alluded to, this is a Colorado team that was not only the top team in the West, but they haven't been shut out all season long. So you knew that they were a little embarrassed by their last game, and it wasn't gonna affect them 2 games in a row. And a couple of if you want to say lucky goals, a couple of squeakers from Seelovs there. So they get a little bit of luck on their side with that first goal to get them going. But overall, it's one of those things where the Canucks have played well all playoffs long, but one thing that keeps on kind of haunting them is their starts. It's been kind of a theme where they come off a little sluggish. Even if they win the game, they typically come off a little sluggish, not in the physical department, but more the offensive department. So, this time they couldn't come back, and it ended up biting them. But I just thought their start was a little flat. Eventually they made it get interesting, in the third period, but I just thought they were chasing that game for pretty much the get-go.
Yep, no, I think that's a great way to put it. Shots were 6-3 for Colorado at the midway mark of the first period. Now, the shots ended up 8-6 for Abbotsford. So at about the 10-minute mark of the first period, it kind of felt like Abbotsford found the game a little bit, even though they were down 1-0. But they tie it. Jonathan Lekkerimäki gets his goal. We've been talking about him on every episode that you and I have done. So that was a good sign. He also had an assist later in the hockey game on the Linus Karlsson goal. So a 2-point night for Lekkerimäki on a night when a lot of guys weren't going offensively. It's a silver lining, and yeah, maybe we're reaching a little bit to find some positives. But no, this is important. Like, we know that Jonathan Lekkerimäki can be a game changer, and so confidence is huge for anybody, but particularly a young guy who knows that he's expected to score. Let's hope that the takeaway from a game like this one is, yeah, they lose the hockey game, but maybe they get one of their big guns feeling a little bit better about himself.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's been incredibly important that he finds his game, and you can kind of tell almost immediately. He scores the goal, and you can kind of tell in his celebration, he just gives a little bit of, you could almost just see him grabbing the monkey off his shoulder there. And, the very next shift he comes out, albeit a terrific breakout by Akito Hirose there, but he grabs the puck, enters the zone, and delivers a pretty nice feed to Max Hassan, who just missed the redirection. So, right away, he was already back in the mix of the offensive stuff. And, throughout the game, he was, he only finished the game with 2 shots, including the goal there, but I think I counted at least 5 shot attempts. So at least he was trying, and then obviously he picks up a nice, or an assist at the end there. So yeah, a little bit of something. And at this point, as you said, you are kind of reaching for some positives, but I thought this was probably his best game of the playoffs, in my opinion. I just thought, you finally noticed him, and he was a little bit dangerous, and a night that not too many Canucks were very dangerous. So a positive to take out of the game at least.
If there was a real disappointment outside of the final result for me, it was the second period where Abbotsford had a pair of power plays. Power play has served this team well, has looked good. It has decided games. Again, it's not going to score every time out, but it had 2 power plays. The Abbotsford had 2 power plays in the second period. And even with those 2 full 2-minute power plays, so 4 minutes of power play time, Abby had 4 shots on goal in the second period and got outscored 2-0.
Yeah, and the power play is a little bit different because it sometimes it feels, and tonight was very much the case. It kind of just feels like they're just they're not really setting up and making set plays. It just kind of seems like they're throwing shots on net, hoping that something works out, and that's all fine and dandy, and it looks good when it works. But when it doesn't, you start to notice it, and especially for a team that has a couple set plays that we've seen time and time and again. I know Aturatu is a big guy that sets that up, so he's not there, so that's a big loss. But there's just been a lot of plays that they've made in the past, earlier this season, that I just don't see really happening right now. And so, it's nice to see a nice backdoor feed from Kirill Kudryavtsev there, which is, a nice story as a rookie defenseman. But I don't know, I just all in all, I just didn't really think it was that dangerous of a power play, which, for a power play that has some gunslingers, it should probably look a little more dangerous in my opinion.
No, I agree. I thought there was a fair bit of freelancing. And in fact, as I look through my notes, Jake Wise, who opened the scoring, walked Sammy Blais shorthanded, had a great scoring opportunity. Artur Silovs made a big stop there. And again, the game is 1-1 at that point. Like a shorthanded goal could have been huge. As it turned out, Colorado didn't need a shorthanded goal to win this hockey game. But, just when I look again at the notes that I'm taking as this game goes along, like nothing in the way of great chances for the Abbotsford power play, and maybe that was the best scoring chance either way, was shorthanded. I've mentioned Sammy Blais a couple of times. I haven't had a chance to ask you yet. Look, he's been so good. He's led this team offensively. He's a physical force. I get all of that, but it just kind of felt like he lost the script a little bit in this hockey game. And Too much of the extracurriculars. Clearly, the referees felt the same way and eventually said enough is enough for you. Didn't stick around. Was it after the Waters goal that the scrum, and then everybody got involved? But it goes into the books as 28 penalty minutes for Sammy Blais on the night. So, as we said, not every night's going to be the top of his game, impacting the outcome, but he can help this hockey club a whole lot more when he's on the ice and available rather than being in the penalty box or hitting the early shower.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, quite a shift to pick up an assist in about 22 minutes of penalty minutes all in one. But yeah, I agree. And, you hate to knock on him because, as you say, he has been the heartbeat of this team. Even in those sluggish starts that I mentioned earlier, he's been the guy that delivers 4 or 5 hits in the first period to get the team going when they really need it. So yeah, it's hard to knock him, but you're right. It's one of those things where they were kind of pressing. They finally got a goal that only got them down 2 goals with tons of time left. So that's still a position where you can at least make something of that game. And albeit granted, it was a bit of a cheap shot. He did get maybe not cheap shot, but he did get thrown down quite heavily, and obviously he got a little bit red-eyed there, but it's just something where you hate to see your best player basically get tossed out. So I don't know, like I said, it's tough to knock him after such a good playoffs, but those are just moments where you gotta keep your head on your shoulders, I suppose.
Yeah, like we see it in the NHL, see it at the American Hockey League level. Like, emotions run high, and it's an emotional game. I get that, but you got to find a way to take a number, and there's going to be another game. This one kind of got away from Sammy Blais, and I'm not pitting the loss on him. I thought it was a quiet night for Max Sasson for the most part. Jujhar Khaira, who has been a nice veteran presence and has chipped in with some offense in the last series, didn't see much of him in this hockey game. Carlson, until he scored his goal, I didn't think did an awful lot either. But, he is dangerous, and you saw it there. Put the puck on his stick in a scoring position. And, he's got 4 now in the playoffs, so, a decent number. And, in fact, I think that puts him ahead, doesn't it? Ahead of Sammy Blais and Phil Giuseppe. So, Linus Carlson now surges to the lead for the Abbotsford Canucks in terms of goals here in the playoffs. But goals for the Abbotsford Canucks becoming a little bit of an issue. That's 7 goals in the last 3 games. Now, as they were shutting out opponents and we were raving about Artur Silovs, that's great, but, they scored a power play goal in each of the last 2 games and then sealed both of those victories with empty netters. So 1 goal in the run of play, and then here tonight, they end up with 3, including a power play goal. But yeah, altogether, it's 7 goals in the last 3 games. I know goals are hard to come by. It's the playoffs, and we're getting deeper into the playoffs, but I do wonder, after a loss like this, the fact that they're not scoring in abundance with their leading goal scorer a healthy scratch. I wonder if the door is open to get a guy like Danila Klimovich back into the lineup as the series shifts to Colorado.
Yeah, it's a good point. And yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you can't rely on your goaltender every night. Eventually you gotta win a game 6-5, every once in a while. And it's funny because now that Jonathan Lekkerimäki scored a goal, that gives them 15 goal scorers in the playoffs. Yeah. That leads the entire Calder Cup. So they're getting help from all angles. They're just not really coming in abundance. There's a lot of guys with 1 goal, which is great. But yeah, you want to see a little more substance to those goals. And we're still not quite sure why Klimovich is out. We're assuming it's a healthy scratch, but of course we haven't really been updated on that as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know. So yeah, I mean, it's been nice having some veteran presence like a guy like Dino Kambites, but I agree with you. Maybe it is time to get a little more shot volume in there with a guy like Klimovich who loves to shoot. And if you're going to bring him in, maybe even putting him in a position to show that shot. We saw him come in and on the 4th line, which just doesn't really seem to be his game. It doesn't really suit his spot well. So if you're going to put him in, maybe you try him up in the top 6 at least for a little bit, see what happens. But I agree, could be a nice little shake up. You finally got your loss, so why not try something new?
6,960 the announced attendance, so basically a sellout, which terrific. Glad to see people buying in and supporting this hockey club. Like to see them go home happy or happier after a victory. Series is split at 1. Colorado got the split it was looking for here. Abbotsford's still fine, but we should point out that Colorado, along with being the highest scoring team in the AHL, the best home ice team. So it's going to be a challenge, but you get to this point of the playoffs, you got to be able to win at home and on the road. Colorado has shown it could win on the road here, and now it's back on Abbotsford. But Abby got a road win down in Coachella Valley. This is a team that hasn't lost much over the last couple of months. To me, it really is just a missed opportunity tonight. Had they gone up 2-0, would have applied all sorts of pressure. But, at 1-1, hey, it's still there for them. It's just a little steeper than it might have been.
Yeah, absolutely. They let it get away, and it's unfortunate because, if you go into Colorado with a 2-0 lead, you got 3 games to win 1 game, so you're in a real good spot. But, for them, if I'm them, I'm thinking, Colorado may be the best team in the league going in, but they've also struggled against Abbotsford this year. Abbotsford's actually done a pretty fair job against them this year. So I think you take that with a positive and you go in there. It's anyone's series now. It's best of 3. And you wish that you still could play at home a little bit, but you take it on the chin, you keep going. So they just need to get some more goals. RTC Love is going to have to bounce back. And hopefully they can at least get 1 here. So
I guess if I look at it from a Colorado perspective, and let's be honest, they're really just names on paper for the most part. Haven't watched this team a ton, but obviously we all know Jason Megna from his couple of seasons with the Vancouver Canucks. But, guys like Megna and TJ Tynan, Ty Felleber, who have led this team in scoring, really haven't done a lot in the first couple of games. That's a bit of a concern if I'm the Abbotsford Canucks, is that while there are Abbotsford players that have room to grow here, I still think that Colorado believes its best players have more to give. And so Abbotsford's going to have to be careful. Line matchups, last change, all of those things that work in Colorado's favor at home now. I'm sure they'll be looking to unlock some of their top players to be a little more productive than they were in the 2 games here in the Fraser Valley.
Yeah, Matthew Phillips as well. He's been, all season, he was a Canuck killer this year. And, Jean-Luc Foudy as well. They, you know what? When they're going, Colorado just has a very, very speedy and skilled team. So, they're the top scoring team for a reason. They know how to put that puck in the net. So, they're getting a lot of secondary scoring right now, which is good for them, bad for the Canucks, because if those guys get hot, which we know they can, it's going to be something else. But as you said, Colorado has that as well. Abbotsford has that as well. So, it's going to be a battle.
They were separated by 2 points in the regular season. That's how tight it was. Jacob McDonald, the high-scoring defenseman as well, really hasn't left his fingerprints on any of these games yet either. So, that's what you play the games. Let's see what happens. Series shifts now to Colorado. We all get a couple of days off here before they resume the series, but we look forward to having you back after the game on Wednesday, Game 3 down in Loveland, Colorado. Dave, as always, appreciate it. We look forward to reading more of your thoughts in the Farmies. You can find those at Canucks Army, and we'll let you get back to put the finishing touches on tonight's version of the Farmies. So thanks for doing this.
Thanks so much, Jeff. We'll see you on Wednesday.
All right, there you go. Dave Hall of Canucks Army stopping by, lending his thoughts as always here, and we appreciate them for joining us on Rink Wide, the Abbotsford AHL Playoff Edition. All right, let's get to the 3 stars of this hockey game. We'll get to the 3 stars in the building and then our own 3 stars here on Rink Wide. The 3 stars, and I'm not sure who's selecting them at the Abbotsford Center. We went back and forth, some late goals here that sort of changed our perspective. They've got Trent Miner, the goaltender, as the first star. Now, he gave up 3, but he did make some saves. He was busy. Abbotsford outshot Colorado 30-21, 18 shots in that third period. So Trent Miner gets the first star in the building. Victor Mancini with an assist on the Lecker-Mackey goal. He is the second star, and then Jake Wise is star number 3. We had Jake Wise a little higher in our lineup. Again, he opens the scoring, and it was a big goal after Colorado had been shut out the other night. For them to get the goal they were looking for, to get off on the right foot. So Jake Wise with the goal. He had 3 shots. He has 6 shots in this series. Again, not a name that maybe you would circle coming in, but Jake Wise seems to be stepping up and leaving his mark on this series, at least it did in game number 2. Chris Wagner with a goal and an assist. This is a veteran guy. He's bounced around. A happy-looking guy there with his headshot and 3 stars. And Jonathan Lecker-Mackey with a goal and an assist. And I agree with Dave. He missed a little time after the oral surgery. Needed healing, but you want to see a goal scorer shooting the puck the way that he did. And let's hope that this kind of unlocks a little bit more from the rookie. But Jonathan Lecker-Mackey is the third star here So Jake Wise, Chris Wagner, and Jonathan Lecker-Mackey, the 3 stars on Rink Wide. 3 stars for a presentation of Greta Bar, YVR, all of those big screens. I'm guessing it was a busy place with a Game 7 in the National Hockey League on this night. Not a bad seat in the house. All the arcade games, when the hockey games are in the intermission, or if you just need a break, or if you're a Leafs fan and you wanted a distraction, you can order off the terrific new street food menu as well. They got weekly drink specials. Greta Bar, truly the place to be. 50 West Cordova, Greta Bar. Let the games begin. All right, we move from the 3 stars to our stat that stands out. And we always try and come up with something that, catches our attention after each and every one of these games. And for a while there, it looked like Abbotsford was going to be held to 2 goals for a 3rd straight game. And so that was going to be the stat that stands out, that, they're trying to win hockey games with 2 goals. And that's a dangerous way to live. But they did get a 3rd one, so that breaks that streak. But to me, the stat that stands out is, and Dave mentioned it, these sluggish starts. And I do think if there is a knock on this Abbotsford team, and look, they're into the 3rd round, they've won a ton, they've been the hottest team in the American Hockey League down the stretch, they're finding ways to win. But they could really help themselves with better starts. Like, even in the 2-0 victories the other night and the one before that, in Game 1, they opened the scoring with under 5 minutes to go in the 2nd period. So it was a scoreless game for 35 minutes. Before that, they scored on power play midway through the 1st period, but you'd just like to see Abbotsford dig in a little bit more, especially at home. Like, feed off that energy in the building. It feels like maybe some nervous energy on the part of the players, whatever the case. Abbotsford was a little sluggish, again, held to 3 shots through the first 10 minutes, and then kind of caught their skating legs. So 12 shots through 40 minutes in this hockey game. And then the barrage, 18 in the 3rd. How about peppering the opposing goaltender with 18 in the 1st period? And I know there's 2 teams out there, and the other guys have a say in the way things go. But yeah, the way this game unfolded, certainly on paper, that stands out for me. Abbotsford with 12 shots through 2 periods, and then 18 in the 3rd, added it all up. 30 shots on the night, 21 for the other guys. The stat that stands out, well, that's brought to you by Resurrection Spirits. And when we mention Resurrection Spirits, we're talking Bogey Juice, which is crafted with the tantalizing blend of crisp apple flavoring and kickin' ginger for that refreshing zing. Every shot of Bogey Juice like a hole-in-one for your taste buds, sweetened to perfection with simple syrup, made even smoother with top-shelf vodka. It's the only juice that's guaranteed to make your golf buddies beam with envy, despite the score it refers to. You can check out bogeyjuice.com for more info. Use promo code SP15 for 15% off Bogey Juice product and merch. And yeah, you can see over my shoulder there, we got a little, not so little bottle of Bogey Juice on a day that another golf major came to an end. I don't know how much Bogey Juice was being served at Quail Hollow, but certainly if I had been playing, could have used some Bogey Juice. All right. When I look at this game in totality, again, I think the better team won. I know that Abbotsford outshot Colorado, score effects there in the 3rd period. But I just thought this was a Colorado team that meant business. And it's one of the things I love about playoff hockey at every level is the team that loses, there is immediate pressure on them to make adjustments. And I would imagine that one of the keys for the Colorado Eagles was get off to a better start, show you mean business. And they did just that, scoring a minute and 57 seconds in and carrying the play for the first half of that 1st period. So credit to the Eagles, good-looking hockey club. Again, I think that you're going to hear from their best players as the series goes along, unless Abbotsford's able to ramp up its defensive game and neutralize them and continue to neutralize them. But now that the series shifts to Colorado, the Eagles are going to have last change. They're going to be able to dictate some of those matchups, and we'll see how things go. When we talked about it being a quiet night, offensively for some of those names that Canuck fans are familiar with, guys that touched NHL ice, Archie Baines got an assist on the Lecker-Mackey goal. But beyond that, still waiting for that breakout game here in the playoffs. This is 9 playoff games in, and just don't feel like Archdeep has had his best stuff. So hopefully he packs that along with them as they head out on the road. Max Sasson, and look, Sasson's had some nice nights in these playoffs. Again, you're not going to be dominant every single night. I get that. But if you're looking for reasons why things didn't go Abby's way in this hockey game, I would say, yeah, top end players. And not just the forwards. I didn't think it was as strong a game for some of the defensemen. Guillaume Brisebois wearing the full cage. And I saw when he had a close-up, he had looked like he had a little knock there on his nose. So maybe some, I'm assuming it's facial protection to go with the full cage. Brisebois gives you what he can. And he's part of that penalty kill that remains perfect here in the playoffs. So I don't want to come down too harsh on the defenders. Ultimately, maybe it's the difference is as simple as Artur Silovs just wasn't otherworldly in this hockey game, that he kind of came back down to earth. And I think it's fair to say that Trent Miner was the better of the two goaltenders. So I would assume that Silovs stays in. Like, I don't think the performance was enough to have Manny Malhotra contemplate putting Nikita Tolopilo in at this stage. I know that Tolopilo did get into the last series against Coachella Valley where they pulled Silovs and Tolopilo came in, but then they went right back to Artur Silovs. I think it's Artur Silovs' net from this point. I don't imagine that they're going to make a goaltending change. And beyond that, without knowing the injury status of some of these players, like Aatu Ratu, the deeper they go in the playoffs, I mean, every day that goes by is another day of recovery. But I just don't know if this is a week-to-week thing. If he's done for the playoffs, there's no info coming out on the part of Aatu Ratu, who was injured in the last round against Coachella Valley. Beyond that, it just kind of feels like Danilo Klomovic, I don't expect him to take over this series, but if you're not generating a ton of offense, and particularly at 5-on-5, and you've got your leading goal scorer from the regular season sitting out, if in fact he's a healthy scratch, that seems like an easy change for Manny to make. And while I don't expect Klomovic to take over a series, I do think he could be a part of the solution here. 25 goals in the regular season, guy can shoot the puck. Maybe you get him out there on the power play. Maybe you find a way to play him in your top six. We'll see what happens. Whatever the case, Abbotsford has been doing it defensively, but there is a little bit of a red flag. Just a little bit of a red flag when it comes to the offense that they are generating here in the last handful of games. Not just this series, it even goes back to the elimination game against the Coachella Valley Firebirds, where they, again, scored one goal in the run of play and then into an empty net. Hey, this segment of Rink Wide, it's a presentation of the Pacific Toyota dealers who want to tell you about the Toyota BZ4X, 100% electric, and it's backed by the peace of mind of knowing that, it's a Toyota. And that spark of joy you get when you pass a gas station knowing that you don't have to stop, and the added perk of being able to access HOV lanes when driving an EV, even when you're alone in the vehicle. You can put all of your belongings, all of the kids' belongings, all their friends' belongings. There's that much cargo capacity in the BZ4X. It's everything you're looking for in an SUV, and it can handle any terrain, so it can take you from the city to the slopes or wherever your life takes you. And when you choose the BZ4X, you can get a $5,000 incentive. And now you can finance a 2025 BZ4X LE all-wheel drive from 0.99% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Jonathan Leckernacki is first in the playoffs. Chase Waters with his second. That made it 4-2 with about 7 minutes to play in the third period. And then Linus Carlson with his fourth on the power play, just over a minute remaining, but time was ticking away. And so goes into the books as a 5-3 final. Colorado defeats Abbotsford. The series tied at 1, just like the last round against Coachella Valley, although Abbotsford was the team that got the split out of the road and then came home. Now it was Colorado that achieved what it was looking for, the split of the games in the Fraser Valley, and then we'll see what happens on home ice. I mentioned to Dave, again, just a shout to the nearly 7,000 on a long weekend that were out there filling the barn. The towels were waving. Looked great on the Flow TV broadcast that we watch here in our studios. We shall see. Is there more hockey at the Abbotsford Center? Well, we'll find out. It'll require 2 wins for the Abbotsford Canucks out of the 3 games. Maybe it's only 2 games down there. Let's be optimistic that they can get the job done. But a potential of 3 games out on the road. It is a best-of-5 series. It's deadlocked at 1 win apiece now, and it resumes on Wednesday. As we look around the American Hockey League playoffs, Texas and Milwaukee are tied 1-1. Laval and Rochester are tied 1-1. Charlotte with a 2-0 lead on Hershey. That's the only 2-0 series that of the four, and all four are going to resume on Wednesday in the higher seeds home building. Now, Hershey's the higher seed in its series, so Charlotte protected home ice, and now it's on Hershey to do the same thing if the two-time defending Calder Cup champs want to make it a three-peat. So they got their work cut out for them. Their backs against the wall, but they are heading home. And it was funny, last night we talked about some former Canucks and familiar names that are still alive in the playoffs. Cole Lind was one of them. He's playing for the Texas Stars. Cole Lind had a hat trick tonight in a losing cause, but Cole Lind with 9 points in 5 playoff games here in the AHL postseason. So, Cole Lind alive and well and doing well in scoring for the Texas Stars, who are deadlocked 1-1 as that series heads to Milwaukee. All right, it was a rainy weekend here in town. You may have noticed that. They had to call off the baseball game on Saturday and play 2 out at the Nat earlier today. Now the Vancouver Canadians head out on the road all of this week for a series in Eugene, but they'll be home again starting on Tuesday, May 27th, when they host Hillsborough. That homestand includes a fireworks night, a We Care Wednesday, a Friday nooner, and a family fun Sunday when the kids can run the bases after the ball game. Looking ahead to June, some great promotions out of the ballpark. Dog Day is coming up in June. Blue Jays Day and Marvel Superhero Day as well. For the full game schedule, the promo schedule, and for tickets, check out CanadiansBaseball.com. All right, nobody said this was going to be easy. I'm sure the Abbotsford Canucks recognized that they were in a battle with the top team, the only team that finished ahead of them in the regular season. Now, it's important to note that Abbotsford had one more win than Colorado, but Colorado had more points, and that's why they are the higher seed in this series. So they elected to start on the road. They came to the Fraser Valley. They get their win tonight. They head home in a 1-1 series tie. Canucks will regroup. I think they're both flying tomorrow, get a practice in on Tuesday, and then get back at it Wednesday night, 6 o'clock Pacific time. And we'll be on right after that game Friday, again at 6 o'clock Pacific time. And then, if you haven't heard by now, if the series goes 5, the deciding game is going to be played at 2 o'clock Pacific time on Monday. Is that May 26th, I believe it is. It's Memorial Day. This is our long weekend on this side of the border this weekend. Their long weekend, Memorial Day at the end of May. And the Colorado Eagles with building availability issues over the weekend. So game 5, if necessary, the deciding game, winner take all, if required, will be played at 2:05 Pacific time on the Monday. So some matinee hockey there, and then we would be on in the late afternoon into the early evening, depending when that game concludes. So that's what's ahead here for the remainder of this series. And again, Abbotsford looking for its big boys to step up and be a little bit more prominent than they were in this one. And that starts in goal with Artur Silovs and works its way on out. Abbotsford was all right, but they weren't the better team in this game. They were the other night. And as a result, it's a saw-off so far. 1 win apiece as they head for Loveland, Colorado. All right, that's going to do it for us here at Rink Wide on this Sunday. Hopefully you're going to enjoy what's left of the Victoria Day long weekend here. We should remind you, no Sakaris and Price on Monday, no Canucks Convo on Monday. Yeah, guys getting some well-deserved time off, but all those shows, all your favorite shows, they're going to be back on Tuesday and throughout the remainder of the week. Don't forget as well to check out Dave Hall's Farmies at Canucks Army, his post-game recap. And I'm sure even though he shared his thoughts shared his thoughts with us here, he'll have more full breakdown of the game, all the highlights if you missed some of them. So check out the Farmies and anything else that's going on around the Canuck organization. Vancouver Canucks, Abbotsford Canucks, Canucks Army is your one-stop shop for all of the latest news and information. Before we run, I want to pass along a special thanks to Clark Corson and Jaden Teja, who have been helping out here behind the scenes as part of their BCIT internship for the better part of a month now. Biggest interns the world has ever seen. like a formidable duo. They'd be starting lineup in most NBA teams. That's how big these guys are. And they've done a big job for us, and we've appreciated it. It's been fun having them around and helping us out. So thanks to those guys. They're at the controls tonight. Again, Jacob Lazar putting his feet up, executive producer, he wants us to call him now, because he's got guys that are basically doing the work for him. So it takes a cast of thousands to put this program and all of the shows here at the Nation Network together, and we've got ourselves some good help. And so it's been fun having those guys around, and it's been fun having you with us in the chat, another lively chat even on the long weekend. So thanks to everybody who was with us here on this night. The final score, one more time, was the Colorado Eagles 5, the Abbotsford Canucks 3. Series tied 1-1 with Game 3 coming up Wednesday. That's when we'll talk to you next here with the next episode of Rink Wide, the Abbotsford Playoff Edition.